think think we're live. Okay. Sorry, I was having some trouble with my computer here. Oh, looks like my microphone might be hold on. There we go. Looks like my mic's in now. Okay. All right, I was having some trouble this morning trying to get everything set up. Kind of an interesting morning so far. We got let's see. First off, the thing I'm the most excited about, I don't know if anybody else has been following DraftKings with me, but had earnings. I was totally off. I Yesterday morning I was in here talking about how earnings were next week, and I was going to try to, maybe sell if we got a little run up going into earnings, and earnings were actually this morning. And that's kind of why I always say when I'm following too many stocks, I start getting confused, and I was confused about that, but luckily. Seems like I made the right decision. So without even knowing it, by holding into earnings, which I usually don't like to do. So if we take a look at DraftKings here, let me just close this there. I entered this position somewhere in here in this 46 range. It finally got this bullish crossover yesterday. The basically that's the oh, I gotta get my settings right. Never mind. We didn't get the. I thought that was the 20 going over the 50. But yesterday we saw a big day, hitting up to 50, and right now in pre-market, it is almost touching 55. So it's gonna open up the day way up here. And I was texting with some friends this morning, like shit, I might just sell these and then take my profit and wait for it to pull down and fill the gap, which is still going to kind of be my play. That's what my plan is. But because my long-term play is to ride this thing all the way up here, because football season's around the corner and gambling and all that kind of stuff is going to be daily fantasy sports is going to be coming back big time. But you know I'm the way I'm going to play DraftKings today, and this is purely based off the options chain. I started doing some research this morning. That's why I started the stream a couple minutes late. But if we look at the DraftKings option chain, um, the reason that I'm probably going to stay in this at the open, if it keeps gapping up, is because you figure it finished here yesterday. Not a huge difference, right? Like 6,000 calls to 2,000 puts. But right now, all of this became in the money. 12,000 calls to 258 puts, 15,000 calls to 900 puts, 9,000 to 200. So I would imagine as we open up here, we're going to see a little bit of delta hedging. It's not going to be a gamma squeeze because it's got a larger float, more shares outstanding. So I don't think it's enough to like really propel this stock extremely forward. But if it can continue to rise up and maybe get past this $55 mark, that's the next big one. And that's just today's options expiry. I pulled this up on TRADYTICS as well. And the gamma exposure, let me refresh this just to make sure that we're, there we go. The gamma exposure on this stock right now, because it's gapping up, is through the roof. So every percent move that it moves up, you're looking at 9 million shares that are going to have to be hedged. And that's because of the entire option chain. When you get out here to like $55, 80,000 calls, basically to 18,000 puts. 60 has 91,000 calls to 20,000 puts. So today could be just an insane day for DraftKings just based off the option chain. So I guess the way that I'm going to play this is going to be to basically kind of kick back and see what happens off the open. If it continues to go higher, then once I feel like it's topped out for the day, I'm going to sell my position completely and wait for a new entry point. And because I do want to ride this play up to like 70, but more so like going into November-ish, more of a long-term swing. And this is giving me some good short-term potential. Anybody who was on the stream yesterday, we talked about that. If you get large short-term gains, you want to take them, because then the stock's going to end up, falling back down and consolidating before the next big run-up. But as I'm sitting here talking about it, it looks like it's starting to get some sell-off right now, or short. This might be even like a short attack to try to, pin it down before the market opens, so that everything I just described doesn't happen. So we'll see. This is one I'm going to be watching pretty heavily, just because I do have some call options on it. But my call options don't expire till February. But either way, all right. So that's DraftKings. AMC was looking like it was up for a while, hit a high at 34.72. They actually had some news this morning that some new hedge fund had there's the 5-minute chart on DraftKings, just looks nice. So AMC had some news this morning, I think, or it might have been last night, basically that there was some new hedge fund disclosing a short position in it. And so I'll be keeping an eye on that. It seemed like after that news, all of a sudden, like I said, AMC's kind of its own animal. It looked like they got a lot of buying. Zoom yesterday, I know I talked about on the stream, and Dave was kind of convincing me that take your profits and run, and I did. After I signed off the stream, I sold out of my Zoom somewhere around here, like at the $400 level, and ended up being the wise choice as it came down to $395. I may end up jumping back in this today, just because now I'm getting back in sub 400, and really I'm looking for it to break through 400 to really start like a new run. But it might even be next Monday that I get into it. But Zoom was more of a long-term play that I was looking to take advantage of all the COVID-related news coming out. Let's see here. Just looking at some other stuff. Looks like GameStop finished yesterday at 153, and it's currently at 154. So a little bit of a gap up there. I didn't see any news related to GameStop. CLOV, we did finish green yesterday finally. We got back above 8. We kind of anticipated that yesterday after the red day the day before. But today's max pain is $8, so it wouldn't surprise me to kind of see that kind of downward push today and try to pin us right where we're at in between 8 and 850. The 850 strike does have. Let's take a look at it real quick. For today, the 850 strike, and CLOV has a much smaller float than DraftKings, because I was just showing the DraftKings option chain. But CLOV 12,000 to 1,000 once we cross 850, 10,000 to 1,000 once we cross 9. That's quite a bit of firepower that if we can get by there today on options expiration, we'll see this delta probably extremely increase as the day goes on and could push us higher. But we've been sitting through this for 6 or 7 weeks now, and we know that that's not always the case. Two other ones before I get to the chat that I just wanted to look at or even just mention. So AVXL, you guys know I've been in that one for a while. Had a pretty decent day yesterday. Looks like a lot of stocks did, though. I mean, I feel like most of my portfolio went green yesterday, but AVXL ran up from $17.95 and continued into after hours. And usually this is a stock that's kind of quiet in after hours, but it kept moving, and it did hit a high of 1973 this morning in pre-market. So I'm really looking for this stock to continue to run. They are announcing, I guess quarterly results next week on the 12th. BNGO had its earnings report on Wednesday in after hours and took a little dip right off the bat, but then, absolutely ripped yesterday. And, BNGO is now, looking to trade upwards. I think maybe that one's looking to turn around. So, Anyways, that's my update on the stocks I'm looking at. Now I'm gonna get to the chat. Sorry if you guys have just been. I'm probably way behind in there, but I just wanted to kind of roll through all that stuff first. Michael's here. Good morning, Michael. Lisa, what's up? Who else is in here? SRT, good morning. What's up? Peter's in here. JF sent a super sticker. Right on. I appreciate it. I still got to figure this out. I'm going to hit up Ecamm or maybe even look for a different provider. But, because when you guys throw these like the emojis and I put them up on the screen, it just shows up like with the description, pair character lifting weights saying keep it up. But I appreciate the super sticker for sure. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Um, Let's see. My sir, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. Skip, good morning. Scotty Z's in the house. Good morning, Scotty. Sent out a little video this morning. Got me fired up for the day. Jason, what's up? Good morning. Oh, Michael must be a Bulls fan. Yeah, he says I'm wearing the greatest shirt ever. I think I talked about that before. I'm a Warriors fan, but I do own a Celtics shirt and a Bulls shirt only because my kid plays in a rec league, and he's on a different team every year or every quarter or whatever. They play like 3 seasons a year, but basically, um, because I grew up and I liked watching the Bulls and the Celtics growing up when he played on those teams, I bought those two shirts. So anyways. Let's see here. Caesar, what's up? Good morning. 6'8" Spindrift in the house. Thomas is here. Ago. Andrew, what's up? Good morning, Andrew. Caesar says the smooth sound of Coach's morning voice. John Doe's in the house. Good morning, co-creator. What's up? Let's see. Thomas says, I have some in the money BNGO calls for next week. Thinking of selling today. Do you have any? I have calls for, let's see here. Let me pull up my BNGO. I have leaps. I guess they're not even really considered leaps at this point because they expire in 5 months. But I have some $10 calls that expire in February and January, and then I also have some 820 $15 calls, which are just getting absolutely wrecked. That I bought on the last time it looked like BNGO was ready to run. I kind of grabbed those. Yeah, I don't have any expiring next week. If you're in the money, I mean, shit, I don't know. If I would say, if you're not going to exercise them, you're going to get more time premium out of it right now, but you're probably not getting much time premium out of it right now as it is, right? Like, let's see. Oh, August 20th. Yeah, because they only do monthly. So you got basically the same calls I do, but you're in the money right now. So right now, let's say if it was a $6 call, it's worth $6.63. So you'd be getting 40 cents a time premium. That's going to go away the further out that you hold this stock, right? So, as we lead up to 820, it's going to slowly diminish and end up getting to where there's only a penny difference, assuming you have the $6. Eventually, if it was like next or Friday, August 20th, and we were having the same conversation and the stock's trading at 624, this would only be selling for about 25 cents, at expiration. So you will be losing about 40 cents there, which is $40. But on the upside, I personally think BNGO is getting ready to move. So for me, if you're already in the money and you're not planning on exercising and there's not a ton of time premium in here, you could just hold them and ride that dollar for dollar movement. Meaning, if all of a sudden BNGO gets to $7 in the next 2 weeks, that's an extra, $75 per contract you'll be looking at. So it really depends what you're thinking the stock is going to do. I mean, it's been trading. Let me pull this up. Actually, where we at 616. Let me pull up the big chart. Daily BNGO. All right. So, I mean, it was trading at 441 back in May, but as we zoom in here, I noticed this yesterday. Like we kind of hit a double bottom off of this support, this line right here, this 559 ish yesterday, and that was a double bottom from back on July 27th. And that also happens to be where this candle closed. So right in here, it seems like it's finding support. And I would imagine that we've kind of like we're bouncing off this low point, and now I mean the MACD's green. Yes, we would be wanting to look for a bullish crossover, which we haven't seen yet. But RSI is also about to trade above 50, so I really think BNGO is getting ready to make its run. You're going to see some resistance. I don't know why I have this line drawn in here. I got to go through and redraw these lines at some point because these don't really make too much sense. This might have been something I drew based off an option play or something in the past. I could see why that's there, but this line is kind of just off a glance. It's kind of doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, I know there are some pretty major resistance levels that it's going to have to pass through as it gets here. But if BNGO can break, above this $9 mark, which it has the potential when it moves, So if it wants to make a move like this where it jumped from 5 to 7 and go on that type of move now, we might see it break through 9. And after that, I'm really in this, I think it's going to go up and test here. I don't know if that's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. It's highly unlikely, but I can see this happening, over the next 3 or 4 months. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess if it was me, I'd probably hold only because you're deep in the money. You're in the money now, right? And I really only think it's going to go up. So if we were to get a move, let's say even to be more realistic, like to $8, that's a difference of about $1.75, $175 per contract that you'll be making. And there's really no downside because just looking at the option chain, there's not a lot of time premium in there. All right, so let's see. Let me get this other chart back up. And it looks like, damn, DraftKings lost VWAP too. That's the one thing about call options. You can't sell them in pre-market either. So even if I wanted to sell up here at 55, I can't. Let's catch back up with the chat. William, good morning. What's up? Yeah, Dave. I'm glad you said that too, because I know me and you have talked about it on the phone, but it's like sometimes you have a plan and you don't even follow your own plan because of greed, which is my worst enemy, but just hearing someone else kind of give me that reminder yesterday, that helped. Louis, what's up? Good morning. Let's see. Thomas says if a hedge fund came in today and pushed CLOV hard, it would kill every single short. Oh yeah, in the opposite direction, absolutely. Let's see here. Raj, good morning. What's up? B Johnson, good morning. Stars is in the house. Good morning. SRT says I have BNGO calls for the 20th. You probably got the same ones I do, like the $15 ones. But with IV, we don't necessarily need it to hit 15. Like I don't know what strike you have, SRT, but if all of a sudden we see BNGO go rip up and run up to $9, IV is going to shoot through the roof, and we might be able to dump those $15 calls, even for a profit still. It's just gotta happen before expiration. I mean, those calls aren't gonna be worth shit on, August 20th, but if it happens today or next Monday or something like that, there's still gonna be that time premium in there, and as IV increases, we might be able to dump them and still get out. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. Target short seller says new video on upload, price target 17 to 27 into 2021, but we will have spike on the upside and downside during the next 5 months. If you guys haven't already, make sure you go check out Target short sellers. He's putting out great videos on CLOV. So coach, what makes you like more volatile stocks like CLOV ATOS rather than something that has almost guaranteed returns like Apple and Microsoft? So, here's the thing. I mean, like I know I've said this before too. Like I have another account where I actually have like, long-term investments in, like TTDs and a stock that I've have, shares in. And then I'll throw hyper growth stocks in there, like a CLOV, a BNGO, stuff like that. Those are some of my like longer term positions because they offer more growth. Like think about it this way: um, if Apple's not gonna triple in the next 2 years, right? But Clove has the potential to go times 10. I think BNGO has the potential to maybe go times 3. You have some of these other stocks, ATOS, you might be able to hit it up to like $100. I mean, obviously more risk involved, but it's a way for like hyper growth. And the way I look at it, I mean, I also have a 401k that's just I don't even play with that like that. I just put my investment in and let other people manage that, and that's my retirement that I'm absolutely falling back on. But this is more. I want to make larger gains. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to for me, and I feel like the you get definitely get more gains with volatile stocks and trading volatile stocks. Now, if you're looking to invest, I would say, and just kind of set it and forget it type of thing, then yeah, like safer stocks like Apple and Microsoft, guaranteed returns, but much smaller. But with compound interest, you can make a lot of money, in those safer stocks as well. But I like to, this is more like trading. I want to trade volatile stocks. I want to trade stocks that are going to have big movements, that are going to offer me greater gains, especially if I'm able to leverage some of them with options and things like that. Um, Thomas says he's got $4 calls. Hopefully, exit with some profit. Yeah, because I mean, shit. If you're looking at $4 now, just to take a look, that means you only have a penny of time premium. $4 plus 225 is 625. This is based off yesterday's close of 624. So there's really no benefit to selling now or August 20th unless you think that the stock is going to go down. If you think the stock's going to go down in the next 2 weeks, then you'd want to get out. My hunch is that we just double bottomed and we're going to start our run up. So I would stay in it, and that way you can kind of get that dollar for dollar gains now. Um, let's see here. Large outflow, AVXL from ETF XBI announced yesterday. Just a heads up. I'm going to write that down. All right. Yeah, Scotty, I'm the same way. I don't mess with my 401k, but I definitely, fund money in my retail account, and just to play around with and, gamble with, so to speak. But I mean, I've also made some ridiculous gains that I know I wouldn't make like in safer stocks. When you hit big plays on a volatile stock, all of a sudden, now, like I've said in the past, I've taken money out to do stuff around the house and upgrade things, and just pay off season tickets for the 49ers. I've you always, and that's important too. I'll say this. You obviously want to grow your account. That's how you got to grow your account to make money. But once you get to a point to where you feel comfortable with your trading account, what I like to do is, whether it be on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, you always got to take out some of your gains. You have to. I mean, you got to pay yourself because that'll protect you from a market downturn where you might get, your account knocked down tremendously. And if you never took any gains and you just kept growing your account and growing your account and growing your account, you know, when the market downturns, you lose all those gains that you worked so hard for over the last year or so. So I always, not always, but I would say over the last couple years, I've always made it a point to make sure and so like pay myself, so to speak, right? So if if I have a big week where I get a big payoff, I might take 50% of those gains and transfer them to my bank account, and that way they're safe. They're not going to get mixed up in my next loss or whatever it may be. And then, but keeping that other 50% of gains, now I'm keeping that to grow my account, so that's the way that I do it. I used to do it weekly, but now that I've been sitting in these long-term positions like CLOV and GameStop, it's a lot harder because I don't have too many weekly gains because it's so volatile and jumping up and down. Um, Typically in this account that I trade in, I won't be holding stocks like like I have been with GameStop or even with Clove, like holding through losses and all that kind of stuff. But it's kind of a different animal. I really do feel like it, especially Clove. I mean, I'm going to be holding this one for a while, and the only thing that may be different is like after we get up to where we're trading at fundamental values and stuff, I might transfer this over to my investment account because I'm not going to be watching it as closely, once we get up there, start trading in triple digits 2 years from now or 3 years from now, it'll be something that I just put in my investment account and set it and forget it. All right, so it's almost market open. One thing I didn't talk about, which I need to get this set back up. What is today? Mac Bracken's going to come on. If you guys are on Twitter, you might be familiar with him. He's always putting out great information. He's got great insights on Clove. Me and him got a chance to talk last night, and I think he's going to give us kind of a fresh perspective on Clove. And what I mean by that is, something other than what I've been sitting here, continuously talking about. So he's kind of got, I mean, he's a Clove holder just like the rest of us, but I asked him to come on and just share his thoughts, and let's hear from somebody else. So I'm excited about that. He's supposed to be coming on, I think, in about 15 minutes here. Let me check my phone just to make sure he's not trying to get in right now. All right. So yeah, so Max should be on here soon, and I did put down in the description of this video his Twitter account. It's Mac_Bracken. So if you're on Twitter, go give him a follow. He's always putting out some really cool insights on Clove or retweeting stuff that other people are putting out. So sometimes I'll find other people that are reporting on about Clove through watching his Twitter. So I'm excited about that, and he should be on in about 15 minutes here. All right, let's see here. You know what? Now that I got this back to the way I want it, I'm going to save this. Every time I flip back and forth between these two, my 1 day chart and my 4 day chart, it always resets back to the way I saved it last time. And the way I saved it last time was 1 minute candles and all that kind of stuff. So DraftKings lost VWAP, which is kind of pissing me off because I was expecting it to open up around somewhere up here so that we can see kind of that delta hedging that I was thinking about. Let's see. I think I got behind here. Co-creator says ORTK up 9% pre-market. Low work. What's up, all? Clove, no calls, selling puts. Let's get good luck, all. Thanks for the stream, coach. No problem. Yeah, selling puts is a lot of people don't realize, but that is a bullish move. I mean, if you're selling puts, you're basically putting yourself in position to either just collect premium right now and put it in your pocket, or if the stock drops, you're getting forced to buy it. So it's and so you would sell puts if you're interested in owning the stock, but you want to get it at a cheaper rate, and that's a great way to accumulate shares too. Michael says 7 dislikes. Is there 7 dislikes? Damn, I feel like Tar Heel now. I don't know if there's actually people in here just kind of lurking that don't like the the stream, or if it's you guys messing with me. Let's see. Curl F and DKNG up pretty 5%. Yeah, so we are up 5.8 on DraftKings. I really like to see it get back above, but even now, being up at 53.43, I mean, looking at this again, this option chain, and that's just for today. A lot of calls went in the money overnight, and I think we're going to see some delta hedging there. I mean, right now, the delta on these is, you can see it increasing a little bit as we go, but it's at 0.72 for the 52 strike, and 0.57 for the 53 strike, and that's going to continue to go up if the stock can go up. But we just need it to start trading in an upward channel. And if it does, and we get some insane run to like $60 today, I'm exiting my DraftKings position, and I'll look to reestablish it after the this week's gamma pressure kind of wears off, or it comes down to fill the gap that's being created today. CLOV, like I said, held above $8 yesterday. We got back above. I think this is a kind of a significant area that we've always found support at since July 15th. We did break below it 2 days ago on Wednesday. But I'm expecting, short sellers to try to, maybe get us down below here again. But we're going to have market makers probably trying to keep us above 8, because below 8 is where puts start making money. So from a market maker's perspective, and Skip, I saw you ask this question. Yeah, today's max pain is $8. So that's where they're going to want to pin us to. Did I lose my option chain? Oh, I just minimized it. Sorry, guys. Just looking to... I just want to double check to make sure. Like MaxPain.com is reporting closed max pain at 8, but I like to look at the option chain for today too. So 8,000 puts at 8 versus 3,000 calls. Yeah, so that it's gonna, between 8 and 850 is where market makers are gonna want to pin this stock. Let me see, get something else up besides AMC. Oh, the other one, I'll just put it up here. So VIH, I think Dan had called out a while back in the chat a couple of days ago, and I did buy some calls because the option chain on this is absolutely loaded up for a gamma squeeze, and the calls were dirt cheap, like $5 a piece or whatever. And just looking into this stock, it is a SPAC. So I mean, even if you were to get shares in this stock, I was thinking about it this morning. Anytime a SPAC's trading below 10, it's almost like free money. It's better than cash, right? Because a SPAC, at the end of the day, whenever the merger takes place, is going to be worth 10 at the very minimum. So because this is still a SPAC and it's below 10, I don't think you can go wrong with an entry point at $9.91. I mean, you're only guaranteeing yourself that 9 cents, and SPACs are pretty crazy. So like, even after the merger, it could tank. But I guess what I'm getting at there is, whenever the merger actually goes through, the value of this stock is going to be at a very minimum $10. So anyways, I was looking at that this morning and kind of like, shit, maybe I'll throw in a little bit more on this, just because if it doesn't pan out, at least I know it's still worth 10. So it's trading undervalued, but not a lot of volume here. That's why you see kind of like this barcode looking stuff. I mean, but it has been kind of getting there. And the one thing with VIH we were talking about was, once you get past the $10 mark, that's where it really, 7,000, 4,000, 2,000, 3,000. Those might seem like small numbers from based on the other option chains that I normally pull up, but this is an extremely low float stock. I want to say it's like 20 million or something like that. So it's what, almost 8 times smaller than something like CLOV. So those options can really move this if it can get past 10. And I mean, it's what, 9 cents away from that. What did I want to pull up though? Let's check out the S&P 500 while we're sitting here. Looks like pretty flat on the day. I mean, it's up 88 cents, nothing big. Let's see. Just trying to catch up real quick. So Skip, I know I answered that already. Can you look at ticker SCR, the score? They popped yesterday by almost 80%. Penn Gaming is buying the score. Let's see. Holy shit, yeah. So 17 up to 33. So I would imagine if it's getting bought out, it's probably getting bought out at a specific share price. And just by looking at this, I would imagine that's going to be somewhere around $33. So probably not going to be a lot of movement. Um, let's see. Yeah, I'm assuming if it's a buyout, there's got to be some information in the news. I don't want to like spend too much time looking through it, but basically, there's probably a buyout share price. Like they're buying this stock out for $30, and that's why you saw it run. And so now, let's say if $30 is that price, you're going to see this eventually whittle down to 30 by the time the buyout takes place, or maybe it's 35, and that means that that's free money in there. You can go in there and buy it and ride it up to 35, but that's what you'd want to double check on is what the actual buyout amount is. I don't think that this is a stock that's going to continue to just rip or whatever, because if it's being bought out, there's a dollar amount and it's a fixed dollar amount, and that's what you're going to get paid per share when the buyout takes place. Chef Daddy's in the house. Good morning. Dennis, what's up? DJ Tardis is in the house. What's up, Matt? What's going on? How much influence do market makers have? As in, can they kill everything, or do they at some point limitations? Well, they're supposed to, basically they're only supposed to be giving us the best execution possible. So their job is to essentially, you want to buy something, someone else wants to sell something, and they're just like the matchmaker, right? They're just bringing two parties together for the best execution possible. However, we've seen that that's not the case, and if that was the case, they wouldn't be routing what 50% of a lot of 50% or higher of a lot of these stocks order flow into a dark pool. So they have a ton of influence because they can take your order from TD Ameritrade or Schwab or Robinhood or whoever, and as it comes in, they can choose to route your order to the exchange, or they can choose to route it into a dark pool. And if they route your buy order into a dark pool, it doesn't affect the stock price at all, right? And then they could choose to route someone else's sell orders into the regular exchange, which does affect the stock price and drive it down. And that's how they manipulate these prices and try to pin them at max pain. So yeah, I mean, how's that possible? I know. I mean, I just assuming that's the follow up question. I mean, there's always got to be, if your buy order is getting routed into a dark pool, that means there has to be a seller in the dark pool, right? And if there's not, then the market maker has these privileges where they can legally create fictitious shares, which is essentially a naked short position, right? And it's for liquidity purposes, but it's being abused. So as your buy order, let's just say, gets routed into a dark pool, if there's no one willing to sell in the dark pool, then the market maker can say, oh, okay, you know what? I'll just sell you some fake shares. Bam. And then now it's up to him. He did that to create liquidity according to the rules. And then throughout the rest of the day, he's supposed to go accumulate that many shares on the open market, real shares, to make up for the fake ones that he sold you for liquidity purposes. That's the way it's supposed to work. It's not supposed to be routed to the dark pool, but that's why they're able to naked short a stock. Is, if someone wants to buy right now and there's no seller, they could just give you some fake shares, and now they got to go into the open market and buy it. So from a market maker standpoint, if he sold you fake shares, let's say down here on this DraftKings, he sold you some fake shares up here at 53.75. Now throughout the rest of the day, he'll try to just accumulate anywhere he can below that, to make up the difference. But now when they're manipulating the market and routing everything through the dark pool, all the buy orders, and basically they're taking on naked short positions in the dark pool, basically now they're not going to be able to accumulate enough shares for it on the open market. Otherwise, that'll drive the price ridiculously high. So they end up taking a failure to deliver, which means at the end of the day, they didn't accumulate all the shares they needed to, and now they don't have shares to bring to the clearinghouse, and that's going to cause an FTD. And for some dumbass reason, market makers get 35 days to clear their FTDs. So definitely a rigged market, but it has to be bought at some point, even if you can push it off 35 days. Sorry, I'm way behind. Fluffer, what's up? And then Mac's going to be coming in here in 3 minutes. So I may, and I should say this too. And I really apologize. I was talking to co-creator about this on the phone the other day. Like I felt so bad. Like on Mondays when Tar Heel comes in, or last Friday when Pablo was here, I end up not being able to get to. I end up not being able to get to all the chats, and it's just, so what I'm gonna do right now, I'll just say, like, so Max coming on at 6:45. If we end up getting like super far behind in the chat, maybe save your questions until 7:30. So if you're on the East Coast, 10:30, and that way, I'll just make sure and cover those questions in the last half hour of the show. And I'm gonna make a point of doing that when I do have a guest on that, like, so if you have questions, if we're able to get to them while we're talking, cool. If not, we'll save the questions till the end, and I'll even star them as I see them. So don't think I'm ignoring you. It's just, it's hard when we got a guest on and we're talking, and then but I'll try to keep up with it as best as I can. SRT says, you asked me yesterday about a super chat and I didn't get to answer before the stream ended. Below the box where you type. Yeah, I don't even know how super chat works, but I know that because I have 1,000 views now, you can do it. And I know some of you guys have given me some super chats, and that's awesome. I really appreciate it. I think I get paid. I was joking with somebody the other day. Like, I've been looking at, like, since I became monetized, I think I get paid like $2 or $3 per video. So I mean, I'm definitely not making a killing. So, a couple of you guys have done a super chat before. I appreciate it. But I don't even know how that works on the other end. I've never done a super chat. Once Tar Heel gets his stream up and running, I'll be the first person to super chat him, just so I could not his stream, but he's got to get to 1,000. But once he does, I'll go in there and super chat him just to see how it works on the other end. Let's see here. I'm gonna try to catch up here before Matt comes on. Joseph, what's up? Thanks for coming in. Will Coach be using the donations to buy a thermos? Shit. You know what I really want to do, and it wouldn't really help for CLOV, I don't think, but I want to get it. So right now I have subscriptions to what, Ortex, Fintel, and TRADYTICS. If I want to get a subscription to Unusual Whales. I've been really wanting to check them out because I always see people tweeting about them and stuff. So that if I was gonna get another subscription or dump the money back into something else, it'd probably be that, just to check it out. And if I don't like it, like I tried some other one, like some dark flow type thing, and after the 7-day trial, I ended up canceling it because a lot of the information you see on stuff is repetitive. But I'd like to find a place that gives me access to historical time and sales data, like where the other day when we saw that weird $1.1 million print that Degenerate put out, I'd like to have a subscription somewhere where I can actually go in and search up and say, okay, let me see the time and sales data from 3 days ago, and be able to look through it and search through it and stuff. So really all I'd be doing if I got some some super chats is pouring it right back into this. Let's see. Right below where you type here, there's a let's see. Pablo says, what's up with the opening candle on the 10-minute? I don't even have a 10-minute up here. Sorry. Oh, Fluffer, thank you. I appreciate it. Damn, that's nice. I appreciate it. All right. So, all right, I'm going to get Mac, if you're out there listening. I guess I didn't have my interview mode turned on, so that's my bad. I just turned it on. Oh, Mac's joining. All right, so here he is. This is first YouTube appearance, I think. This is Mac Bracken. Let me see if I can get him up here. Oh, and why do I have this now? It's doing it again with the fifth guy. Mac, you there? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right.
I gotta figure this out. You go ahead. While we're talking, I'm gonna try to. For some reason, my screen has three people. It's me, you, and someone who's not here. So
All right.
I'll try to
Yeah.
figure that out while we're sitting here talking. But
All right.
if you want to introduce yourself, I know me and you got a chance to talk yesterday. I kind of already told everyone I met you on Twitter, and you know that you're been covering Clove. But go ahead.
Here. If there's any issues with the audio or video, just let me know. First off, Coach, I want to thank you for having me and really everything you've done, everything everybody else has done too over the last 2, 3 months. You know, Tar Heel and Degenerate and Altrays and all those guys, and it's been a big help to me. I'm not a market expert the way you guys are. Um, I've dabbled in stocks before, traded individual stocks, but nothing compared to what you guys have done. My retirement plan has been S&P 500. Set it, and I'll see you when I'm 65. So, but while I'm not a market expert, I have worked in healthcare before. I worked for a private practice. We had 3 medical doctors in the private practice. I was a healthcare administrator, so anything business related with the medical practice, most of which was insurance based. I spent a lot of time communicating with the insurance companies. I saw what they did well. I saw what they didn't do well. I saw. I talked a lot with patients regarding their individual insurance plans and how it affected them personally. I talked with the doctors as well about insurance a lot. So I've seen the doctor's perspective of it and the private practice perspective of it, and I've got a pretty good handle on it with regard to that. So I feel like because of my previous experience, I was able to wrap my head around what Clove is and what they're doing and what they want to do in the future and where I think they're going to be in the future too. So everything good with the tech, Coach?
Yeah, I've been sitting here trying to figure this out. For some reason, I can't figure out how to turn off this third person. It's so this software. I mean, this software kicks ass. It's called Ecamm Live, and there's this one. I don't know if Tar Heel, if you're in the chat and you know how to turn this off, let me know. But there's a button that's not showing up on my screen right now. Where normally I can kind of like flip through, like like make for some reason the software thinks we have 3 guests and
Mhm.
someone's not here yet, and that's not the case. So, and
I'll
it's
just
not.
keep rolling if you want to poke around with that while I talk.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm just a guy like most of y'all who likes the stock, and that's not completely true. I don't like the stock. I love the stock. Like I am in this deep in terms of my financial investment, in terms of how much time I've spent on it. I mean, I'm putting in 6 to 8 hours a day researching Clove and watching videos and reading on Twitter, reading on Reddit. I mean, I'm in deep in this thing and I love it. It's fun. I enjoy it. I'm learning a lot thanks to guys like Coach. And I really believe that in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, we're all going to look back, but I know I will. And we're going to look back at this $8 price point, and I think we're going to be in disbelief that Clover Health used to trade for $8, and it wasn't just for a day. It traded at $8 for a long time. Um, I think the growth potential in this company is tremendous. And every time I dig in and find more details about the company, it confirms that position. It strengthens my conviction. One example of this. So when I graduated high school in 2002. So like most everybody else around here seems to be a
Yep.
30-something-year-old white guy
Yeah.
on the YouTube, but whatever. But I graduated high school in 2002, right? So I was in my dorm room my freshman year. So you're talking about 2002 to 2003, and my roommate walked in, and he had an iPod, and I had seen the iPod, like I'd heard of it, but I'd never seen one in person. It's the first time I saw an iPod in person. And this guy he's one of these like trendsetter guys. He's always up on the latest band. He's always up on the latest technology. Real sharp guy, but also like into that sort of stuff, like an early adopter, I guess you could say. And I wasn't the type of guy to look up stocks. I probably twice a year I would make a trade or look up a stock. It was I had an E-Trade account with like $1,500 to $2,000 in it from like summer jobs I had worked. But he walked in with the iPod and I looked at it and he talked to me about it. And I remember that day, I said, I wonder what Apple stock is doing. And I pulled up the Apple stock Now, Coach, today Apple trades at $147 today. And I looked it up. If I bought on the worst possible of that school year, what do you think the price of the Apple stock was?
Well, not to mention stock splits and shit too, right? So even
Well,
though,
this is taking that into account.
oh, okay,
Yeah,
God, maybe $5 or something.
it's 31 cents.
Shit,
So this is not to say like, oh, I missed out on Apple. And no, it's not that story. The story is, I think we're going to look back at Clove the same way we look back at Apple and think like, oh, wow, 20 years ago, Apple was 31 cents. Now it's $147. I believe in 5, 10, 15 years, we're going to look back at Clove the same way. But that's just
that's
my
almost
personal.
that's almost like
Yeah,
what, 1,000 times growth.
I don't know. Let me
I'm
got my
just
calculator.
quick math. I'm just thinking like, basically, if it was trading at $1, that'd be 147 times. But then
Yeah.
you multiply that by, probably about four. If it was, I don't know. But that's insane. Either way, it's
500 times. 500
500
times.
times growth. I mean, that's insane. I mean, and just
Yeah.
to put that into perspective, that would be like, again, 15 years from now, or 20 years from now, basically Clove trading at, God, what's 8 times 500? 40 grand
Nuts. But yeah,
or
crazy.
4 grand. I don't know. Either way,
Yeah.
$4,000, probably 4,000 a share. And I know that
Well,
sounds ridiculous to some people, like, but you got to think there's stock splits involved, right? So
yeah.
think about if Clove ended up getting, as Clove grows, and same thing like what happened with Tesla. It may split a bunch of times. So $40,000 from here, but if you split that by 10, that's 4,000. Split it by another 10 times split. It'd be like Clove trading. Clove would probably be trading at about 400 at the time, but you would have almost 100 times the shares because maybe it split twice. Just to put it into perspective. So yeah, it'd be something like that. That would
Shabbat
be.
talked about it being a 10 bagger when he gave his initial interview on CNBC. And I think he was purposely being conservative because this thing's either, I think it's polarized. It's either going to rip and go or it's not. Like, I don't think it's going to be like a small to medium sized insurance company. I think it's going to be freaking gigantic or just kind of on the smaller side. One of the two. I don't think we're going to end up in that middle range. That's just my opinion, though. But part of the reason I'm so bullish on it comes down to the company and the software they have, Clover, the Clover Assistant, and the people at Clover as well. But let me talk about the company first. So if you haven't had a chance to watch the Clover Assistant webinar, I encourage everybody to take about 45 minutes this weekend. If you type into Google Clover Assistant webinar, find the Clover link, like the Clover website, go there. You have to type in your name and an email and a company. I typed in my name, my email, and I typed in investor for the company. I think you don't even have to put in your real name, your real email. So I don't feel like you have to do that. But you need to watch that. It's like 45 minutes. It's from March 2nd. And they detail what
Is
the
this the
Clover
website right
Assistant
here? Or
is. That's it. Yeah. And so go down to March 2nd.
March 2nd, right there.
Right there, Clover Assistant Product and Technology Showcase. And you get to listen to webcast, and it's a video. And it's Andrew Toy, it's their medical director, and they talk about what the Clover Assistant does. They talk about the value of the Clover Assistant, and they show you as well. And I believed in it before, just kind of blindly, I guess, based off what they were saying. Seeing it in action, it's incredible. I mean, just you need to watch it. Anybody that's got even $100 invested, is just going to confirm what you already believed. So let's assume the Clover Assistant works as advertised, and I believe it does 100%. What does it do? It improves patient outcomes, which means patients are healthier. That's first and foremost. We're trying to get people healthy. It's making money is great, but trying to make people healthier. Um, how do they make people healthier? They are proactive about these folks' healthcare. Like the doctors are assisted, hence the name Clover Assistant, in their decision making. The doctors don't have to do what the Clover Assistant said. Andrew Toy in the webinar even says the acceptance rate from the doctors is like 60%. which is about where they want it. Because if it were 100%, one of two things is happening. Either the questions, or I should say the prompts that the Clover Assistant is giving, they're either too basic, or the people are just kind of clicking through, kind of like you would click through on a survey, like,
They're
you know,
not paying
can I?
attention. So
That's right.
you're saying that, just for anyone listening, so 60% of the time the doctor agrees with the Clover Assistant AI,
Yeah.
which is,
And
and I agree with that. I could see that being a positive, because if they're never agreeing, then shit, the software doesn't work. But if they're agreeing 100% of the time, then the software's probably not really doing much. The doctors just kind of, that means the doctors are actually looking through there and figuring out, okay, yeah, I agree with this, I agree with
yeah,
that. And then I didn't mean to cut you off, though. I just wanted to
no,
make sure and clarify that point.
yeah. Andrew Choi said exactly the same thing you said too. And you know, he's the president and chief technology officer, if you don't know. Um, So the Clover Assistant helps patients stay healthy through proactive management of their healthcare. As a result, there's fewer hospitalizations. Clover has said that hospitalizations are reduced by 22%. Now, this is tough to get wrapped around. Hospitalizations are extremely expensive. So if you go to the doctor, your PCP, and you get your blood drawn, you're talking $100, $200. Maybe you pay it. Maybe your insurance pays it. Maybe you both pay it together. But hospitalizations, I mean, if your wife has ever given birth and you looked at that bill, or if you have a loved one, maybe a grandparent or a parent that's been in the hospital, it's minimum of thousands of dollars, usually tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So if you can keep patients out of the hospital at a rate of 22%, that is a tremendous savings. Even if it were 10% or 5%, that is a huge savings to an insurance company to not have to pay those claims. It's huge.
Yeah, and that's where, like, when people say like this, and I know I've said it too, like this could be disruptive technology. I mean, because you're talking about, by creating healthier people, it's less costs. I mean, who wouldn't want? What insurance provider wouldn't want to take on this or healthcare provider to take on, this technology that's going to create healthier people? And if the results are proven, it's just going to be a matter of time before more people, start adopting this. And this is something that they can also, my understanding, like they could take this Clover Assistant and kind of like market it to other people too, and just make money off that, right?
Yeah. So Andrew Choi talked about that in the quarter 1 earnings call. I listened to that a couple days ago, kind of prepping for this and prepping for the next earnings call, trying to understand where we were 3 months ago, where we need to be coming up next week. And he talked about potentially licensing it. It's something they are not officially doing, but it's clearly something they have thought about. So when they were developing, he said this in the call, when they were developing the Clover Assistant, they did it abroad. And I know they're doing work in Hong Kong, so I suspect it was over there. I don't know for sure. He didn't say, but it was abroad. And he did mention there was a different language that was used as well. So he said when they were testing it abroad, the scalability worked even with the language difference. So my thought, like small potatoes, is you license it to other insurance companies in America. Huge, like mind blowing growth would be Canada has a national health system that they spend $300 billion a year on. If you can keep even 5-10% of their people out of the hospital that would have gone to the hospital, that's savings in the billions for Canada. So you license it to Canada to use for their national health system. England's got a national health system and a population larger than Canada too. So they have not officially said they're doing this, but I think it's clearly something they have thought about, and I think it's a way that Clover can expand that United Health and Humana and all the others cannot.
Yeah, and then you start talking. I mean, shit, you start moving into countries like that, and I mean, that I mean, the growth opportunities are ridiculous, especially when you look at a company right now. And I know we're on the Clover Assistant side of things in the conversation, but they're in a little tiny 209 counties right now. You know what I mean? Or maybe more now that we're with the new Florida expansion. But still, I mean, it's insane to think of like how small this is with this type of technology, and the room for just explosive growth. I want to ask you a question because I don't know the answer to it. I would
Yeah.
assume, but co-creator has put a couple questions in, and I'm wondering the same thing. When the doctor disagrees with the Clover Assistant, I would imagine the AI learns from that, right?
Yeah.
If so many doctors just keep disagreeing with the recommendation that they're making, the AI would learn from the doctor, and that'll help build onto the AI, right? That's basically what it's doing. So that's
Correct.
okay. That's what I saw. Co-creator in the chat asked that question. I think it's a great question, but yeah. So I mean, that's the whole thing of AI is it's going to continuously learn and develop and get better on its own.
Yeah.
And shit, that would all help too, right? The more bodies that get into the AI, the more lives under management, the more, practical uses that the AI can learn from, the better. So, even if like in your example, where all of a sudden, if they were to expand into like a country, like let's say Canada or something like that, and I know you said the company hasn't made any announcements, and that's just speculation, but think about all the new lives under management now and how rapidly the AI could grow.
Right.
When you start adding in that big of numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And medical cost ratio, MCR, you're going to hear this coming up at earnings. So if you don't know what MCR is, basically, if you're an insurance company, and let's just, for simple numbers' sake, let's say you take in $100 in premium. So you're holding $100 and you're insuring somebody. If they spend $80 on healthcare, whatever, and so you have to pay out $80, that's an 80% MCR, and you're left holding $20. So you have made $20 in that scenario. If they go out and they spend $110, uh, you have spent $110 and you only had 100, so you're down $10 in that scenario. That is an MCR of 110%. So 100% is a key number in that MCR. You don't want to be above 100% in the MCR because you're spending more money than you take in. You want to be below 100%. The MCR of patients who use the Clover, who are managed by the Clover Assistant. So keep in mind, Clover, not every doctor is a Clover Assistant doctor, right? So you can have Clover as a health plan and not go see a Clover preferred doctor, a doctor that does not use the Clover Assistant. So Clover has data on non-Clover Assistant patients and Clover Assistant patients. The MCR for the Clover Assistant patient is 10% better than the non-Clover Assistant patient. And that's like comparing Clover Assistant patients to Humana or United or whatever. It's a huge difference.
Yeah, and basically, and that really comes down to, I'd imagine, healthier patients don't need to be seen as much, and now that means you don't need to, as an insurance provider, you don't need to spend money on them, right? I mean, just to put it in the simplest terms, and that's where this thing's a game changer. I think.
Absolutely. So in summary, it's we have a product nobody else has. Okay, so you got a product nobody else has, and in my opinion, this is 100% the way healthcare is going. So I think in time, we're going to see United Healthcare and Humana and all these others develop similar type products. And and I've seen, I think United bought something that was like AI related, but I think it was more related to billing. I don't think it was assisting the doctor and actually impacting the patient outcomes. So, but I think this is the way healthcare is going, and I think Clover's got such a head start on everybody. I think they're going to be the winner, but even if they're not, this is the way it's going to be going, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, even if like someone like Humana right now decided they wanted to go the AI route, I mean, they'd probably have to spend years getting the technology right before they were able to launch it. Now, I could see where if they were to launch something because they have more lives under management, their AI might grow a little bit faster. If it was like right now they had a Clover Assistant, competitor right this very second, but I guess the point is we're the only one who has one right now, correct? And so
exactly.
and so our AI is
Right.
learning and getting better, and now that's putting it years ahead of anyone else coming out. And it could be again like you're talking about where this is a software as a service. I mean, if they work out everything in this one and this one's running so efficiently, why would you even take the time to create one if you can lease it from CLOV? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then now, maybe even a Humana or United Health or anybody else is paying CLOV for the Clover Assistant software, and all that's doing is now sharing that same database, right? So now that would give the Clover Assistant access to the lives managed under any of those insurance providers too, where it's just continuously learning. That's the way I see it, at least. Somewhere where the company can go. Like someone had mentioned Amazon, like their AWS. I mean they basically took that model that they had, and even though they're using it themselves, they ended up, subleasing that to some that the software to all these other companies too, basically to their competitors, because the software that they created in itself was, a business, you know what I mean? I think I might, did you freeze? At first I thought you were like in deep thought, Mac, and then all of a sudden now it looks like, unless I'm frozen. Um, Somebody, if you can hear me, drop in the chat. Let me know. All right, so maybe it looks like maybe Mac might have just dropped off. Um, Let me double check to make sure. Yeah, okay. So it looks like maybe he dropped off. We'll see if he jumps back in. I don't know if that was me or him, but man, yeah, he was dropping some good knowledge, and then we lost him there. So let's see here. Let's see. Hopefully Mac will jump back on. If not, let me open up my DM so I could talk to him on here too, just in case. But he was getting some he was dropping some knowledge. Mac, if you're still watching, jump back in. I don't know if my stream my internet kind of, oh, there he is. He's coming back in right now. What's up, man? I don't know if that was my internet or yours, but all of a sudden you just kind of froze on the screen, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, man, this guy's just staring me down right now.
Hopefully I was smiling. Yeah. So you're talking about Amazon and the web services, I think.
Yeah, I was just saying I could really see it going in that direction where, similar to Amazon and how they started basically leasing their, the whole AWS thing out to all their competitors. And that ended up becoming a profitable part of their business, and helping them grow. And that's what I could see Clove doing with this, as with the Clover Assistant, a software as a service piece, like the tech that they have and they develop, shit, they can lease this out to Humana, United Health, to all these other people. Like, I know I've heard some people talk about like maybe a buyout, like, oh, someone else is going to want this software and then just come in and buy Clove. Yeah, I could see that happening, but I could also see Clove pivoting to where they still have their health insurance, but at the same time, they start subleasing out this software to everybody, even competition.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that too. Um, so ultimately, we have our buddies. We have better outcomes, meaning healthier patients. You have a lower price. You have doctors. I don't think I talked about this. You have doctors that are being paid more. They're being reimbursed at a higher rate. How a company like that fails. I think you're talking about, when you're talking about a better product at a lower price. I mean, to me, that's Costco. That's Amazon Prime. Like, I was at the store the other day. I was trying to buy some grill gloves, so I want to be able to, like, handle hot stuff at my green egg, right? And I want to buy two grill gloves so I can handle stuff. I went to Ace Hardware. They had them, but they were $21 for one glove. So you're talking $42 for two of them. Amazon's got two of them for $10, and they'll deliver it to my door in like 24, 48 hours, right? So that's a better product. I guess the products are equal in that scenario, but at a better price. And so that business model, I don't think it can fail unless, and I'll get to this in a second, the people just running it into the ground, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and that comes into, just the faith that I know you probably have some thoughts on that, and I'll let you get into it. But the faith that we have in the actual leadership of this company, and I know
Yeah,
even like with the recent hires, and I keep talking about this, like you're bringing in people from Palantir and Uber, but I mean just Shamath and Vivek and everybody else. So, no, I agree with you 100%. I
Yeah,
mean, I don't see this team failing. And
yeah,
what are your thoughts on that?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you hear any of them talk, whether it's Vivek or Andrew Toy or Chamath, any of these folks associated with this company, if you hear any of them talk, it's very clear. They are extremely bright. They are experienced. I mean, each of their resumes, I mean, this is not their first, this is not their first company and going to be a deer in the headlights, not knowing how to handle certain situations. Um, between the executives and the board, which is extremely well connected. I mean, both on the and the right. I know it's been said many times, but Demetrios Katsoukas used to be the director of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, CMS. All this talk about the star rating, we do need to get it up. I don't think it's going to be this year. I do think it's going to be next year, like Living It said. But if you need to contact anybody at CMS, the guy that used to run the show over there is on your board. You think he doesn't have the phone number of the current director? I mean, you can get that guy on the phone in 10 minutes, I bet. Same thing with Chelsea Clinton being on the board. The Democrats are in charge of the White House, they're in charge of Congress. I bet she can get anybody on the phone in 15 minutes if needed. Not that they're pulling those strings. I'm not saying that's happening if anybody is listening, but those are two really good people to have on your board, not only from Demetrios' experience, but also connections they have as well. Um, Chamath, I don't know what his official role is, but obviously a bright guy. He's got deep pockets. He's got friends with deep pockets. That's a great guy to have in your corner as well.
Yeah. No, I mean, you're basically you're not only investing in the software, you're not only, you're investing in the team behind it. And like you said, the only thing that potentially could probably, derail this stock's future growth is one, if Clover Assistant doesn't work. But obviously, it seems like it is. We're seeing data on that already. So, two, if the management behind it is running it into the ground, and to me, I agree with you 100%. I have faith in the team that they're building. I mean, these guys are successful. They have background in it. Some of them have connections. Some of them, are coming from technology driven companies. So I mean, it just there's so much positives around this, and I know this is something too that, just to not get too much off topic, but we've been seeing nothing but positive news from this company, other than a couple Hindenburg tweets or reports over the last year, and I mean nothing but positive news, nothing but good praise, nothing but growth, and I just think that's this company has nowhere to go but up. I
Yeah,
guess, to put it in its
and
simplest terms.
big thanks to you and all the others who are doing what you're doing as a person who doesn't typically trade in individual stocks. When good news kept coming out and the stock price kept falling, I would always go to you guys and Al, and and you put me at ease. Like, oh, this is manipulation. This is going down, and I could go to Ortex and see what's going on over there, and I could see the failure to delivers, and so it helped me sleep at night, knowing like, oh, I've got a ton of money tied up in this, but it's going to be okay. It's going to come back. This cannot be sustained long term.
Yeah, I was watching. I don't know whose video it was the other day. It might have even been Mcash. I think could be somebody else. I don't want to. I don't remember who it was, but I was watching a video on Clove, and basically went through and was showing the days that the good news was released, and had the time and sales data of short, basically short sales, and showing just like this massive flow of short sales coming in as the news was being released every time we were getting positive news. And we've talked about that on this channel, like, just that's what they want to do, right? That's part of the psychological side of it is when, like, I would expect, no matter what happens at earnings, as soon as the earnings report gets released and starts showing up on someone's news ticker, um, you're going to see a short attack. They're going to try
Totally
to
agree.
come in and slam it down so that people will kind of get nervous, like, oh my God, earnings must have been bad. And they'll just sell without even reading it or whatever, and just get, and I think that's really what they try to do, is they want to hammer it down, and they want to scare you. They want you to sell to do the job for them. So now, if you're selling, you're helping to drive the price lower, right?
Yeah.
And now they can cover at a shorter cost and really get in and out intraday.
Quarter 1 was pre-market. They released it. If you don't get the Clover emails, you need to sign up for that. They'll email you press releases um, in real time, so you get it when everybody else does. And I got my email. I think it was I was driving to work, so like it was like 7:30, I think, and the market opens at 9:30. So 2 hours for everybody to digest that information, and of course they hit it. Now they're doing it after, like 5 o'clock, I think is when the earnings call is this quarter.
Yeah.
And I think part of it might be so that people can digest it overnight and we can get maybe true price action the next day. Maybe not.
Yeah. Now the big thing with quarter 1 was they beat expectations, but then that Hindenburg tweeted out before the market even opened. I think he ended up sending out a tweet like, "Oh, look, Clover lied because they said they had 200,000 bodies," and it was just a play on words. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's all it really was a play on words. They said this, but then, when you actually go back and look at it and again digest the information, it's like, no, they didn't say that. They said they were going to be at 200. And
Hmm.
so, but again, those guys are influencers too. And so when they tweet out BS, whether it's true or false, you're going to get a knee jerk reaction from the market. Bush
Yeah,
says,
no
"Where the
doubt.
gold at?" That's from your Twitter, I think.
Uh,
I did tag a
you see
couple
that?
comments that I
You
wanted
see,
to.
you seen that video of the? It's a newscast in Mobile where there's a leprechaun in the tree. If you haven't seen that,
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
watch.
No, I know. Is that where the actual? You're because here I got. Hold on. I got one
That's the
in
guy.
here.
The guy in my picture. He's got his. If
It
you
says,
if you
"Hey
see the
Mac, you don't
leprechaun, say
must
yeah,
fuck your profile photo on Twitter." I tagged that one earlier, but
yeah,
that's what I thought it was from. That's from that video, right? Where the dude's
yeah,
like, "Where the gold at?" Yeah.
yeah.
So that's what I knew where that was from when I saw it. That's an old video. That's probably from
I
like
love
what
that.
10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it was viral a long time ago for sure.
A couple
Um,
other ones I tagged. Just he's Tar Heel says I like the new Pablo. Pablo will be back. I hit Pablo up. He'll be back on I think next Friday. So we definitely Pablo's not gone. I already got to this one. Co-creator said, "Does the AI learn? Does it if it disagrees with the doctor?" We saw that one. Matt says the problem is that United Healthcare and Humana are not about health, but about taking money from the system.
yeah,
And I can't. I agree 100%. Like you could tell that Clover Health right now is about actually helping people, making them healthier, improving improving lives, and profiting off of less doctor visits. Right? I mean that's the way I see it. Where a lot of these other ones are. And I've said this, and then I'll give you a chance to respond too. But I've even like Kaiser. Not to bash Kaiser, but I'm actually a Kaiser. I use Kaiser, but the way I see it is, if you come down to like, let's say you really have like some life threatening, you know, um, illness or disease or something, and you're older, isn't it worthwhile for like a something like Kaiser to just, it's cheaper for you to die than to actually like treat
oh
you
no,
over the not to be blunt, but I always kind of think of it in that way. It's kind of like, is it cheaper for them to just tell you, you just got a couple years to live, so we'll give you some pain medicine instead of treating you and trying to get another 20 years out of you.
the more a health insurance company can say no, the more money they make. Like when you file a claim and they deny it, the more they can deny it and say no, the more money they make. In other words, they're not in the corner of the doctor. They're not in the corner of the patient. They're and I'm sure if they were here, they would say that's ridiculous, Mac Bracken. How dare you say that? But it's true. Like the more they can say no, the more money they make. So anyway.
Yeah, that that's I guess a better way of saying what I was.
Yeah,
They want you to
no,
die, but
yeah.
no. No, I agree with you though. Let's see. I don't even know what this. I'm gonna put this one up here because I don't know. what a DRG is, unless I'm just not thinking correctly. John Doe says, "Does the AI from Clover operate according to DRGs?"
I think that's beyond me. I would refer you to see if they mention that. I mean, pretty much everything I know about the Clover Assistant comes from the webinar.
Okay, couple other ones I tagged.
And some of the
Pablo's
data points come from the quarter one uh, earnings call.
Pablo says PNC insurance is a bit different than health because the occurrence of losses are more consistent. I wonder if I just took that comment out of context, like if they were talking about something else in the PNC insurance. I don't know. It's hard to pull comments out of the chat when you're not
Yeah.
following the entire chat. Let's see here. I'm just looking for some other ones. One that I thought maybe I'd love to hear your input on. Fred's asking, "What's your predictions for earnings? What do you think?"
I'm gonna get to that in a bit.
Okay, I'll
I do
save
want
that comment
to
then.
I do want to cover the bear argument on this. Something I've heard, I think we're going to continue to hear, even as revenue goes up and the earnings per share gets closer to profitable. People are going to say doctors don't like this. Okay. And coach, I've seen you wear your Macho Man shirt before, right? So I know you're a wrestling fan or old school wrestling fan. I am too. Like I'm an early 90s wrestling fan personally.
Yeah.
Ted DiBiase, what was his punchline or his catchline? What would he say?
Oh man, I can't even think right now. When
It's
you
the million
say it,
dollar man.
what's
He
that? The
would say,
$1 million man, but I
yeah,
can't think.
but he would say, every man has his price, right?
Yes, yes,
That was
yes,
it.
yeah,
And it's true. I mean, like they're paying doctors more because they can afford to pay doctors more. Their MCR is lower when the patients are managed with the Clover Assistant. So they're paying doctors, I forget the exact number, $200 more per visit or something like that, or maybe just on the first visit. I forget every detail. But the bottom line is the reason they're paying the doctors more is because the doctor has to do more work. The doctor has to put data into the Clover Assistant. That's how he gets or she gets the suggestions from the Clover Assistant. Is they're putting the data in. Doctors, they're just like me and you. They don't like change. As they get older, they have an eye on retirement and they want to spend less time in the clinic and more time on the golf course or more time with their family. They don't want to do more work, and it's not fun to do more work. But if you're going to pay me $200 extra to do 10 minutes worth of work, I don't care if you are a doctor, you're going to do it. And every man has his price. That's why they're paying more for it. So, and here's another thing too. I looked it up. PCPs. I live in Georgia. PCPs in Georgia, their average, annual income is 185. I'm sorry, $185,000. $185,000. There's some that make, I'm sure, 280 or whatever, and there's some I'm sure that make like 120,000. So uh, the ones that are making 280 that are older and don't like change, they're probably never going to adopt the Clover Assistant, and I get it. Okay, that's fine, and you're going to hear that, and you should just prepare yourself mentally for like some people are not going to be Clover Assistant doctors, but imagine you are one of these folks making 100,000 a year. That's good money, but that's not crazy money. And if you got a Mercedes parked out in the parking lot, or even a pickup truck parked out in the parking lot, which some pickup trucks are more than Mercedes, but you get the idea.
yeah,
That $200, if you see even 3 Clover patients a month, that's your car note. If you've got a loan on your car, you may not like it, but you're going to do it. And so just when I hear that bear case, they're not wrong, but that's why you pay more. It's an economics problem. Like if you want something done, you pay for it and it'll get done. I called. I live in a Clover state, and I found the Clover preferred providers in my state from their website. And I called and talked to the COO at one of the practices. Here's how crazy I am about Clover, right? So I called and
I'd love to hear this
told
story too.
him, and I I shouldn't have lied, but I did. I said, I'm helping my mom choose her Medicare plan, and I want to talk to you about Clover Health. I said, this one appears to be different from all the other healthcare plans. I said, what? From our perspective, it seems good. It seems like the health outcomes are better. It seems like it's cheaper for my mom. what is the view of your doctors? Like, how do they like working with it? And she said exactly what I thought she was going to say. She said, it takes more time for them to put the data in, and they don't like that, but we have it and we're doing it and we're going to keep doing it. And so it's one of those things where I think as the doctors start to see more and more positive outcomes, uh, they're going to gravitate toward it. And as we get more and more traction. So I think that's also another reason we're seeing Clover really harp on helping like minority groups, because if you're in an affluent area and you've got uh, a waiting room jam packed full of people, it's tough to get an extra 10 minutes out of your day. And if all your patients have United Healthcare and Blue Cross Blue Shield, you're getting paid really well. If you are in a bad part of town, I shouldn't say bad part of town, if you're in a poor part of town and you have an empty waiting room or an emptier waiting room, and your patients are on Medicaid or Medicare with no secondary, meaning you're probably not getting that secondary portion that Medicaid would cover or whatever. Um, that extra time is worth it because you have the time probably, and that extra $200, that's money you're not typically getting.
Yeah. No, and then I just want to go back because you were talking about the doctors, how you called, and I could see that like with older doctors not wanting to spend the time or adapt, or it's like computers. I mean, shit. There's probably still doctors that don't even really. I mean, they've been practicing for 30 years that they've got someone else that inputs all their stuff and they don't even touch computers. You know what I mean? They didn't
No
even use a
doubt.
computer when they went to school. But I guess as these doctors start using it, right, and it becomes faster and easier for them to input, I would imagine at some point it's going to make their work more efficient too, right? Because now they've kind of trust the model. They know when the model gives the exact same recommendations that they do, and then they know that these are the things that sometimes they disagree with, and so they'll be able to kind of like start flipping through this a little bit faster. And okay, check. All right, let me double check. And so once these doctors do start adapting it and utilizing it, it's going to become a more efficient process for them, and it'll probably help make them more efficient through the recommendations, and that's what it's all about. And I think as we get into like younger doctors coming out of med school now and starting their own practices and going to school with new AI, new technology. I mean, there's even just think about like online learning and the concept of that and how that's growing. And there's so many people that are going to be coming out of college now that are going to be used to using these online learning tools and things of that nature that people 10 years ago weren't doing that. And not to say there wasn't online classes, but it's becoming more and more especially now with COVID. But I guess what I'm getting at is the younger generations that are coming up are going to be more apt to latch onto this idea, of having an AI that's going to help them because they're more tech driven generation.
No doubt. And if you're starting your practice, you want to capture as many patients as possible. So if you're a new doctor just starting a practice and you look at Clover Health, you're like, oh, I can get reimbursed more, and I've got time because I don't have many patients. And then so for that person, they're happy to have a Clover patient walk through the door because they have the time and they're getting the extra money. And as time goes on, they're going to see those patients are healthier. They're going to see that their practice is making more money because their hourly rate is higher seeing a Clover patient versus a non-Clover patient.
Yeah. That makes 100% sense. Let me see if I got a couple other. I've just been tagging stuff in here that I wanted to.
Yeah,
Oh, this one I just caught this one, and I don't know what you guys are talking about in there, but I seen Echo said, shoot me your pics so I could do an inverse Pablo model. That one made me crack up, so I threw it on there. Co-creator says, could Clover Health ever work its way into the state Medicaid system, state government contracts?
um, I guess it could. Yeah, I mean, I haven't thought about that. I've thought about it being so. United Healthcare insures people from birth to death, and Clover does not. Um, And I've thought about, should Clover go into younger ages? And I think I concluded no, or at least like not in the short term, because if you think about where there is opportunity, the opportunity is not with healthy people. The opportunity is with sick people. So like I'm 37 years old, no family history of anything bad. I'm relatively fit. Uh, and I don't look like Jonah Lupton or anything like that, but like, I'm 165 pounds, 5'11", right? So like no health issues ever. I'm easy to insure. Like, exactly what you're going to get out of me. Like, it's what is my rate for cancer, like my risk for cancer in terms of like the big models. What is the probability I drive myself into a tree and have to go to the hospital, like stuff like that. That's easily insured. The opportunity for Clover comes with sick people, and that happens in the older age group a lot of times. But yeah, I think it could be used with the Medicaid system. Yeah,
Okay.
the smart mark.
Um, I'm gonna pull this one up. I know there's some other comments that I tagged, but it said if you're on the CLOV, then Kaiser might be old school. This is not health advice, but the next progression would be to go HMO. Yeah, it's funny because my wife and I have been talking about this. Just getting off of like I grew up. I was never in Kaiser. I was always you know, obviously I didn't have the choice, but we didn't do Kaiser. But then when I got married and started having kids, my wife was always Kaiser, so we ended up switching. I switched over to Kaiser, and I enjoy the flexibility and just like I mean, shit, you're right there, the pharmacy's right there, and it's easy. But I feel like I kind of like to have the choice of where I can go and be able to say, no, you know what, I don't like this doctor. I want to go to this one. It's kind of having that family doctor. So something my wife and I have been talking about is switching away from Kaiser at some point, like the next time that um, we get open
Is that
enrollment.
all? Is Kaiser all one building? Like the specialist is upstairs, that sort of thing?
For the most part, yeah, like, usually it'll just be like, it's generally, I mean, in our area, there's a couple around here, but it'll be like, let's say, like a hospital, right? And so, you have the maternity wing, you have the ER, you also have another level where it's all the doctor's offices. You have another, and so, but then there's also these little sub buildings that in our area. So we have the hospital, and you can choose a doctor that's at the hospital, and go there. Or there's one that's closer to me that's a very smaller building that's just doctor's offices. But even there, they have a pharmacy built in. They do have a emergency care, like if you needed to go in, but if you really needed to go to an ER, you got to go to the hospital one. And so they have little offices as well, but even their little offices is one big building that has a built-in pharmacy. You can go there for your flu shots. They have adult medicine, optometry, all that kind of stuff there. Um,
Gotcha. Yeah.
yeah. Let me
Um,
see.
yeah, you got more comments or
Let me
questions?
let me double check. Let me double check. I have no idea what Tar Heel's talking about here, but he says, Matt, can you talk about coding intensity?
So, all right. This is a little beyond me, but I'll give it a shot. I do know that, so like when I worked for the private practice, they would talk about how patient comes in and you do certain things with them, and it's not your typical patient. Like it's like so patient's got something wrong with them, and you do this, you go this certain route with them from a charting perspective in terms of like what you can prove needed to be done. You can code it one way or another way, and one way is going to be more profitable than another. I don't know if that's coding intensity or not. I do know that I think they talk about it in the webinar where they talk about coding a bit.
Is that kind of like I've heard like people talk about upcoding where a doctor will kind of like, or or even insurance, or I guess it would be more on the doctor's office side, right? Would upcode something to get more money out of the insurance. And that's something that I think the AI also looks for. It tries to identify coding errors specifically to save the insurance company money too, right? Not only for the patient side, but then it'll, now it doesn't change. My understanding of Clover Assistance is it doesn't have the ability to change any codes, but what it will do is prompt the doctor to say, hey, are you sure that this is what you want to code it at? So it'll try to acknowledge and recognize when there is a coding issue, and or like the practice of upcoding where a doctor's trying to basically like get more money out of the insurance company type deal.
You've got to be able to support your code with what's in the chart. So if you are upcoding, meaning saying you did something you didn't actually do or something that was not needed, that's insurance fraud. And they come in and audit, and you can get caught doing that. And there's big problems for a practice if that happens. Um, so yeah, you got to support with the chart. But yeah, I agree with the Clover Assistant. It could either help the doctor avoid that sort of thing, or help the doctor maybe choose a code that is appropriate that does reimburse more. Yeah, but Coach, ultimately we're talking about government funded healthcare. I mean, if you've got a product that is superior at a lower price, funded by the government, this seems like one of the safest bets around. I don't, it's crazy to me how low it is and how they refuse to let it run. This seems like one of the safest bets. And you've got a product that nobody else has, the Clover Assistant, that, in my opinion, is proven. This, I don't know why anybody would buy, I don't know, stock it. Let's just say like a movie theater. I don't know why you would do that. I mean,
No, I hear you. I hear you. I mean, it does seem, and this is again like even beyond squeeze potential, which I know me and you talked about last night. But like, it's like even if this stock doesn't squeeze, and
yeah,
even if the manipulation and the shorts are able to kind of whittle their way out over time, and we never see this like massive short squeeze, yeah, I see this stock bringing us to massive gains organically at the same time. It might take a little longer, but I really do feel like, and that's basically what we've been talking about today, is you get into this stock at $8. Can you imagine, where this could be as the company grows and the software takes off? And I mean, it's hard to put a price target on that because we haven't really seen how much money the software can generate as they start like rolling that out, and maybe getting it into, if they start selling it as a software service. But I mean, triple digits for sure.
yeah.
you know
One last thing I want to say before we talk about earnings to address the bear case. I've heard some people say like, "Oh, it's going to go to zero." That is the most absurd. Whenever I hear that, I just know like this is a moron that does not know what they're talking about. We have, what is this, like 130,000 patients under contract. Those are assets that can be sold. Like you can sell those to other companies if you wanted to sell out, right? If you wanted to roll your company into Humana or whatever, you can sell those assets. And the technology, in my opinion, is worth a tremendous amount of money. I mean, who knows how much, but that can be sold too. So the idea of it going to zero is just laughable. You have assets that can be sold. It's not going to zero. It's ridiculous. We're
yeah.
not a sheep company. Um, you want to talk earnings, Coach?
Yeah, let's do it. I'd really like to see, I mean, just from a nothing having to do with Clove, but just what I've seen with earnings in general, right? Like for instance, here we got DraftKings. You know, we saw, and I'll go out on the daily chart, but I mean, shit, it gapped up to 55 today, went down to 50 now off great earnings. You know what I mean? And I would imagine that it would bounce back. And I know we're going to talk Clove, but I guess what I'm getting at is earnings are real wacky, so trying to predict what the price is going to do, is it going to go up or down and all that kind of stuff, it's really hard to say. And I'll just, even like BNGO beat earnings, and we saw, so Wednesday was the earnings date, we saw it drop after earnings, but now it's starting to roll back up. So in terms of what's going to happen with the price action after earnings, I don't really, I just, what do you think is going to happen on the earnings call?
My
What are
my
you expecting?
expectation my expectation on the price of the stock is a drop, maybe even a significant drop, because every time we've had good news, there has been a significant drop. So I'm assuming that pattern is going to continue. The one exception would be is, and I'm going to go over what the best case scenario would be. If we just absolutely blow it out of the water and investors come out of the woodwork to buy the stock and it just blows up. I don't foresee that happening, but that's the one situation I can see where it does go green. So I think it either like is red or like really green. I don't think we're going to see like a 1% or 2% jump unless for some reason earnings are like okay and the short sellers stay off it. I mean, but their pattern has been when good news comes out, is hammer the hell out of it. I mean, we
Hammer the
saw it.
stock down. Yeah.
Remember when we doubled our geographic footprint, and like that week it was down something stupid like 17%. It
Yep.
was ridiculous. I'm glad they're so clear about this. Like it's no surprise anymore what is going on. It's ridiculous. You're doubling your geographic footprint, and we're down 17%.
I'm sure Hindenburg already has a tweet drafted up. I saw Degenerate put something out there that tweet that, I'm
Yeah,
sure Hindenburg and what did he say? Hindenburg and EE or whatever. He was talking about them, and he said they've probably been working their ass off, preparing for Wednesday night when they're gonna have to start sending out bullshit tweets or whatever it is. So, you
locked
know,
and loaded.
and so no matter what, no matter how great the earnings is, you're gonna see them try to attack the stock. But what do you think? What kind of results? What would you say
Sure.
if you have an idea? What kind of results would give us that explosive, like would
Yeah.
blow earnings out of the water? What would we be looking for there, in your
Let me talk
opinion?
about a couple things first. So first off, anybody that doesn't know, the way Medicare Advantage is set up, the enrollment happens, I believe, in October, and then it takes effect January 1. And so what what happens is you see a jump in revenue quarter one. So the quarter one earnings report, which was the last one, you see it. I think we went from like 160 something million to 200 million in that quarter, and it's because of all the new enrollees. And so Q2, Q3, Q4, typically you don't see the revenue change a whole lot. There is one exception though, and that's direct contracting. Direct contracting started April 1st, and I've been trying like crazy to find out like when is that revenue going to hit? Does it hit starting April 1st, or does it hit at the end of the year, or somewhere in between? And I can't get a straight answer on that. I've asked Living It, and I think I don't know. I just couldn't get a straight answer from anybody, and I think it's because it hasn't really been released yet. But it looks like it's roughly $850 per patient per month, but that is dependent upon your geographic location as well as like how sick you are. So like the sicker you are, the more they would give you. So like we we insure a sicker population uh, and also a typically minority population. I could see ours being as high as $1,000 a month. I'm not banking on that. I'm banking on it being 850 a month per patient. But if that all, let's say what happens is Medicare decided we're going to pay it April 1st, we're going to pay it May 1st, we're going to pay it June 1st. Well, 3 months multiplied by 64,000 patients, multiplied by $850, that's $163 million in revenue. If that all comes through, I don't anticipate it coming through, but this is like best case scenario, in
That
my
would be the
opinion.
type of stuff that really just like, holy shit, earnings blowing
Yeah.
out. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And if it's, I think I jotted down what it would be. I think it's like 185 or something like that if you're getting 1,000 per patient. But bottom line is it would be huge if that direct contracting revenue is coming through this quarter. It's going to come through eventually, whether it comes this quarter or down the road. But something that makes me think it might not is in the last earnings report, they mentioned something along the lines of, I'm trying to find it in my notes here. It's basically like they anticipate there being $30 million for the year in direct contracting, which that maybe I'm missing something. That's entirely possible. Or it's possible they were just trying to really set a low bar so they can get over it. That's possible too. I don't know. But the other thing I'm looking at for earnings is the medical cost ratio, MCR. Um, in quarter one, 2020, which that was pre-pandemic, right? The pandemic really hit in like April. Um, the MCR was 89.4% pre-pandemic. If we can get close to that, like 91%, that'd be phenomenal. I would love that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, between the MCR and that direct contracting revenue, if both those things come in, you're talking, I think the analyst earnings per share prediction is like minus 14 cents per share. And I've run the numbers on it. I think if all that comes in, we're looking at something like minus 5 cents per share. So that'd be a pretty big blowout of earnings if that happens.
And we
Uh,
beat that. We beat the expectation last time too, right? I want to say that was the big. I don't remember how much we beat it by, but it was like we beat. I want to say we beat what the analysts were saying we were going to be at per share.
I've not gone back and checked that. Yeah.
Yeah, usually, I don't. For some reason, my let's see. If I go in here, my Thinkorswim app actually has an earnings. Um, but it's not showing up. So, like, if you look at, for instance, if I pull up DraftKings, just because you can actually see, like, here's what the Wall Street thinks it's going to be. Here's what it actually was, but it's not showing up for CLOV on mine. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Sometimes it gives you that, where you could look back and see it visually what it was. I know that information's out there. It's just not. I don't have it readily available on
Yeah.
here.
I'm really
Um,
looking forward to what Tar Heel does on, I think it's Wednesday with his all day thing. I know he's going to talk about direct contracting revenue. So I'm interested to hear his perspective and everybody he has on. I want to hear their perspective. And I'm not banking on the revenue being there, and I'm banking on us being right around where the analysts predict us to be, which is losing 14 cents per share. I think that would be fine. I would consider that a good earnings report, but it has the possibility to be just tremendous.
Now, just even what you're saying, like if we just come in right at analyst expectations, sometimes, just regardless of the stock, if you're right at the analyst expectations, you'll see the stock kind of decline
Yeah.
because it's like, oh, okay, well, they didn't do anything phenomenal. But with this stock in particular, I think we're already at the bottom. We're already, oversold. So it's like, just meeting up to analyst expectations almost dispels the bear thesis in this. Like, oh, here you saying this is a failing company. This is exactly where we're supposed to be. So even that, I think, would be good news for the stock. Good news from an institutional investor standpoint, where more institutions will say, okay, well, they're right on track. But we're still going to get hit probably with a short attack on earnings day, and that would be a reason to do it. So, getting to let's see. I just want to look at some of these comments real quick. There was one comment that I saw. Target short sellers. I just want because he said if we go down to 650, should we sell here? I wouldn't. I mean, if we got hit hard down to
Dude, back
650,
up the truck, man. I'm loading up at 650.
yeah. I mean, I know what you're talking about. Target short sellers talking more from like a technical analysis perspective, right? Like now we're talking about all-time lows, and if the bottom was to break out, it can go even lower from a technical standpoint. But I mean, just looking at the amount of buy-in that we've had, and there's been a ton of institutional buys coming in over the last couple weeks at these prices. We've been seeing a ton of support at these prices. One, I don't see it falling that low. Two, if it did, I think we would see even more institutions jumping in. I mean, unless earnings were just like absolutely shit terrible and the institutions started bailing on us, then that might be news for concern. But I don't know what would actually cause that. I don't see that
There's,
happening.
there's something else I haven't mentioned too. So we've got what 64,000 direct contracting patients. 100% of them are managed with the Clover Assistant. Remember, I said earlier, the
10%.
Clover Assistant MCR is 10% better. So, like, do we see that right away? Like, maybe not, but like a year from now, if you've got all those patients managed with the Clover Assistant, you're gonna see those savings down the road. So like if it goes to 650, I'm gonna get my hands on as much cash as I can and let's go. Get the average down.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. So I'm gonna just try to hammer through these. This is an old. Sorry to bring her up. I watched a video from E, which almost led me brain dead, but her thesis was CLOV isn't going to win because it wasn't consumer focused. I mean, I guess that's not really a question. I just wanted to throw it up there because it's just
Yeah.
absolute bullshit. But it's like, if anyone's focused on the consumer and focused on the patient's well being, we're talking about a company that's got AI that, actually helps improve pay a patient's health, and isn't just kind of like, cattle call, push you in and out and make money off you. D Worm says, are we going to see a pop if the infrastructure passes? I don't
Oh,
know.
the one where they expand Medicare.
I,
That's that's the one bear thesis I kind of I don't know. Here's the thing. Um, Traditional Medicare right now does not offer dental and vision, right? And the infrastructure bill does not lower the age to 60, but it does offer dental and vision to traditional Medicare. So there's not a lot to differentiate Medicare Advantage from traditional Medicare. And so that's concerning to me. The only thing that gives me pause is the lobby from United Healthcare and Blue Cross Blue Shield and Humana. The lobby's huge, and like they don't want to lose their Medicare Advantage market share, just like Clover doesn't. And I'm sure they're going to lobby like hell to figure out a way for Medicare Advantage to still have some competitive advantage going forward. I don't know what they're going to do, but that's where I'm kind of putting my hope.
got you. And then Pablo's asking kind of along the same lines. Is September still the time frame? Um,
I'm not up on that. I mean, that seems to change every week. I mean, we heard Biden was going to talk about it in his speech a few months back. He didn't. We heard that Dems were going to lower the age to 60, and like that wasn't in the bill. So I don't
all
know.
right, let's see here. How Narwhal says, how do the shorts get that much ammo to drop us to 650? So I've kind of been covering this in the chalk talks, just the manipulative practices that they can do and that are out there. I mean, at some point, everything's got to be covered, right? They can kick the can down the road or whatever. They can only legally borrow whatever shares are available. Naked shorting's a thing. It's illegal, but it exists, and a lot of these companies are doing it. Typically, what they want to do when they naked short is hammer the stock, you know, and cover same day. Because if they hammer the stock and cover intraday, no one's really ever going to know that they naked shorted the stock. You don't
Yeah.
really find out that they naked shorted it until they come up with a failure to deliver at the end of the day. Like, well, shit, you sold these shares into the market. Where are they at? You need to deliver them to the clearinghouse. So, I mean, the only way that I could say they'd be able to get that kind of ammo is by naked shorting, and but the problem is, like, if you've already got a huge legal short position, let's just say millions of shares, and then you've also got, now you want to create this intraday illegal short position, that could backfire on you. Like, let's just say I'm already short this stock. We come in today's earnings and we come in and I hammer this stock down to here. And, now I've basically doubled my short position. I've got a legal short position and an illegal naked short position. And the illegal naked one I'd like to cover before the end of the day. And now I keep applying pressure and it backfires. And now we're trading upwards up here. And now I can't get out for a gain, right? Like, now the stock's trading above where I shorted it at. I mean, they want to cover those shorts intraday, the naked shorts. When they can't is when we end up with FTDs. And, the other thing that I'm going to be doing a video on next in my Chalk Talk series is the whole reg show. And once you get put on there, because, if we do get put on reg show, which I haven't been looking at for a while, I know Tar Heel said he's been checking the list daily. I think I haven't heard anything. Basically, that means that they're watching. There's been too many FTDs, and now they're going to be watching and not allowing this type of shit to happen. So at some point, they're not going to be able to continue to do this, and they're going to have to, especially with the naked shorting. But I guess to answer your question, it would be through naked shorting. It would be through manipulative practices. It would be through buying shares on the dark pool and then selling them into the market. Same type of stuff we've been seeing, which is why I don't think that they'll be able to get us down to 650. I really don't, because they've been trying this shit I know Chiron said a little while ago in the chat. I didn't tag it, but basically, we've been getting shorted since June. Or actually, shit, even before that, the stock's been getting hammered down since January, I think. But I think that this is the base. I think we've got support here, so I don't see it dropping to 650. Next one I saw was Chris. What is Clove doing to help smooth the transition for doctors using this new software? Almost seems they need an entire division to help with technical aspect, going door to door offering support. I think we kind of covered this already when you had said that they're paying doctors to use the software right now, which is basically going to make doctors apt to use it. And then now, the more you use something, the more you learn, right? And the doctors will become faster and more efficient at it. Is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, let's see. I know the onboarding process is pretty brief. It's like an hour, I've heard them say. So it could be that the software is pretty intuitive, but you're right. I mean, it does take extra time for them to put the data in, but it does pay at a higher rate as well. So they are more than compensated for their time. So yeah, you nailed it. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let me see if I got any other ones. I'm behind in the chat now, but I've been starring ones that I wanted to come back to.
You're going to hear Clover. They surveyed the doctors and they showed it. I think it was in their initial investor presentation. They had the doctors rate the software on a scale of 1 to 10, and there were a lot of eight, nines, and tens. And then there was kind of a gap in the middle of not much, and then there were a handful of like ones. And again, it goes back to what I was saying. There are some people who are going to love it and who are going to swear by it. They're going to see the results are worth the time. They're going to see the extra money is worth the time as well. And there are some people who are probably just going to be so stubborn that they do not like change. They are set in their ways. They are not going to adopt it. And you're probably going to see interviews with these people as the FUD increases. So just don't be surprised if you see a doctor or two saying like, "Oh, it's not worth my time, and we don't have time for this in our practice." Like, bull. Like the money that you get reimbursed is more than worth the extra time you're asked to put in. There's something else too. They're basically having to do data entry, which is kind of like a lower paying job, but the doctor has to do it. I think there's a lot of doctors that have a lot of pride of like, I'm not putting in data, but they have to. So anyway, just be prepared to see some fun on this stuff. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it's always nice to kind of hear about the FUD before it comes out. And I could see that. I mean, you got, all these doctors that are using it and probably love it, but at the same time, you're gonna get how hard is it to pay one doctor to come out and get on camera and bash it to shit. Um and if they weren't thinking that, we probably just gave them an idea. Um anyways, we're almost at 8 o'clock. Let me look and see what if there's any other John says, do you see any significance in the warrants being closed out right before earnings?
That's you. I don't know. Just you and Pablo, man. That
Yeah,
stuff
that's
is
more of a
not.
Pablo conversation, but I would say, to me, my understanding of it is they're getting rid of liabilities, right? So those warrants being out there are a liability for shares down the road, and so by closing these out ahead of time, that's going to be less liability on their books. Just the quick answer on that one. John saying December 2020 MCR was 109%. March was 107%. Stated these losses were attributed to COVID. Recent partnership with Value H in Florida may contribute to quarter 2 losses. Well, the partnership hasn't happened yet, right? So we wouldn't see that on quarter 2.
Yeah, the MCR was super high. I mean, remember what I said earlier about the expensive part of healthcare is not the proactive approach to health. It's not going to your PCP and getting your blood drawn. The expensive part is going into the hospital. And that's exactly what happens with COVID is you're old, you get COVID, you go in the hospital and you're there for a long time. You're put on a ventilator, whatever. It's expensive for a Clover, and there's nothing the Clover assistant can do to like keep you from getting COVID.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a crappy situation for Clover, but the light at the end of the tunnel is there. I mean, in Q2, most everybody was vaccinated, older people especially. So should be fine in terms of that.
Yeah. And I mean, that's more, even if there is, the way I like to look at it is even if we sustain some short term losses because of COVID, right? Because we're the MCR is increasing, which you taught me something new last night and today about the MCR. But let's say the MCR increases a little bit more in these next couple quarters due to COVID and an increase in COVID. Um, you know, that's short term, right? That's something that maybe just is within this little 2 year period or something. I mean, after that, moving forward, it's the long term of this company that we're looking at, not some losses that are, because if we're losing due to COVID, I'm sure all the insurance companies are. It's not. This isn't something that's specific to Clove, I guess is what I'm saying. Um,
Minority groups were more affected by it, statistically.
yeah. Let's see here. Tar Heel says thumbs down is a curse upon coach now too. Yeah, I got 7 thumbs downs. This is before you jumped on too, Max, so don't take it personal.
Okay.
But this is definitely my highest thumbs downs I've ever gotten.
My wife
And
is at least one of them.
oh, she watching in the other room.
She wanted to. She's got work right now, but she might have pulled it up. I don't know.
Let's see. Pablo said Tar Heel brought in his thumbs down bots. Let me see if there's anything else we want to get to right now. Zed says, where does Clove stand if the market were to crash or go into a recession?
I mean, people need healthcare. It seems recession proof to me. You'll probably see a drop initially, but in 2008, the market crashed, and that's when I got a job with a doctor's office because they were still seeing patients. It was I called a guy I know that's a doctor, and he hired me after losing my job due to the recession. So
Yeah, it's
it's recession
definitely
proof.
a recession proof, I think, sector or industry, right? I mean, people are always going to need health insurance. There's always going to be hospitals open. There's always going to be
And
people needing health care.
it's government funded too. So if the funding runs out for this, you're not going to be worried about your clothes stock. You're going to be worried about getting guns and bread and water.
Yeah. And I think we've already seen it. If it, being government funded, they'll just print more money.
Right. Yeah. It's the
So
last thing that stops getting paid for.
what's that?
It's gonna be the last thing that stops getting paid. Like you're gonna keep paying for old people's health care. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
The guy, yeah.
No, yeah, no, I agree with that. I think it is. It's recession proof.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's all I'm gonna be able to get to. Let me see. Uh, this is the only other. This is a lot. This is from a lot earlier, but I'm putting it up here just because I started earlier, and I think it's a good one to end on. So it says, can't miss out on all this free knowledge. You guys have become part of my wake up regime, and I really, this is Mac's first time. Mac, I think I thought this went great. I thought you dropped a lot of good knowledge today, man, and I appreciate you coming on and just be prepared. I'm sure we might have to get you on a round table or something, or get you in on some of these other ones because really some great knowledge. I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody else that's watching in here appreciates you. You taught me some stuff today, and it's always nice to have a fresh perspective too. Really,
I appreciate that, Coach. I appreciate the time you put into this too. Just before I go, I just want to reiterate Clove has a product that nobody else has. It gets better results than everybody else does, healthier patients. It's offered at a lower price. We've got a team of well connected, wealthy individuals who have been there before. They've done great things in business before. Um, Long term, I don't see how this thing loses. I really don't. So that's it. When the stock drops, that's what I try to think about, like what we actually have at the core of this business. So
Yeah, I agree with you, and we've been seeing the stock drop right now, and there hasn't been any legitimate negative news on it. So to me, that just makes me more bullish. It's like, okay,
yeah,
well, it's just going to go up from here. I mean, we've been getting nothing but great news. It's just being manipulated right now. It'd be different if there was legitimate negative news coming out, and then it would be like, oh shit, maybe I got into the wrong stock, but I don't feel like that at all. So again. thank you so much for coming on. We'll have to do this again. Thank you, everybody, for watching us. I got to go. I'm about 5 minutes over right now. So I appreciate it. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody. Hopefully, we'll have a great weekend. Maybe we'll finish this day green. We are down about, what, 11 cents right now? Nothing, but we're holding $8. So, and make sure you check out Tar Heel this afternoon for Power Hour. All right, guys.
Let's go.